Iteration. In this video, we will begin learning about iterative programming. Iterative programming is where a program executes the same instruction more than once. The basic structure of an iterative statement is as follows. We start by typing the word repeat, followed by a number, which for now will be represented by an underscore, then the word times. Afterwards, a pair of curly brackets, and then within those curly brackets, the block of statements that we want executed a certain number of times. Here's an example. Here we're saying repeat 6 times. By putting the number 6, we're stating that we want code repeated 6 times. The code we want repeated is the display statement. We want to display hello world 6 times. So if I were to put a little imaginary computer screen to my right and execute this code on that computer, hello world would get displayed 6 times. Here's another example of the use of a repeat statement. In this example, we start by declaring a variable named x and assigning it the value 0. Then we enter a repeat loop. We're saying repeat this code 5 times, increase x by 1. Thus, 5 different times the variable x will be increased by 1. Then after that repeat loop is done, we display the final value of x. If I were to bring back my imaginary computer screen and execute this code, 5 would get displayed on the screen because, once again, the variable started out as 0, then 5 separate times it got increased by 1. Thus, when the repeat loop finished, the final value of x was 5. Now suppose I make a small change to that statement inside the repeat loop. Instead of increasing x by 1, I simply assign x the value 1. Even though I'm doing this 5 separate times, I'm still only giving it the same value every single time. I'm just assigning it the value 1. Thus, if I were to pretend to execute this program, then the final value that gets displayed would be 1, because once again, even though I'm executing the statement 5 times, all I'm doing is repeatedly assigning it the same exact value. Repeat until. As mentioned earlier, a repeat block repeats a block of code a fixed number of times. A repeat until block repeats the block of code until a certain condition becomes true. The structure of a repeat until block is as follows. We start by writing the words repeat until, followed by a condition. After the condition, we open up a pair of curly brackets. Then inside that repeat until block is the block of statements we want executed repeatedly. This block of statements will only get executed if the condition is false, and it will get executed repeatedly as long as the condition is false. Once the condition becomes true, we stop executing the block of statements. For example, consider the following code segment. We're going to break down what's happening here line by line. We start by declaring a variable named x and assigning it the initial value 0. Then we enter a repeat until block. The first thing we do is evaluate the condition. Is it true or is it false? Since x is currently equal to 0, 0 is not greater than 2, thus the condition is false. Thus we go inside the repeat until block. The first statement says to display the value of x. Since x is 0 at the moment, 0 gets displayed. The next line says increase x by 1. That completes the block of statements. After that, we return back to the top of the repeat until block and evaluate the condition once again. Is it true? Is x greater than 2? No, it's not, because right now x is 1 and 1 is not greater than 2. So we go back inside the repeat until block. Once again, we display the value of x, 1 gets displayed, then we increase x once more. Now x is equal to 2. Then we return back to the top of the repeat until block. Evaluate the condition. Is x greater than 2? No, it is not, because 2 is not greater than 2. So we go back inside the repeat until block. We display the value of x. Right now x is 2, so 2 gets displayed. Then we increase the value of x once more. Now x is equal to 3. We return to the top of the repeat until block and reevaluate the condition. Is it true? Yes, it is, because now x is equal to 3 and 3 is greater than 2. Thus, the repeat until block is now done. We can now move on to the first statement after the repeat until block, which is the display done statement. Done gets displayed to the screen. Notice that because the display done statement was not inside the curly brackets, it did not get executed repeatedly because it was not a part of the repeat until block. Hence, it did not get executed until the repeat until block was finished. Now, suppose I made the following change to the block of statements. Suppose I flipped them around. Now, instead of displaying x first, then increasing it, we increase x first, then display it. How will this affect the output of the code? Well, let's break it down. Once again, we start by declaring a variable named x and initializing it to 0. Then we start the repeat until block. We evaluate the condition. Is it true? No, it is not. 0 is not greater than 2, so we enter the repeat loop. We start by increasing x by 1, so now x is equal to 1. Then we go on to the display statement. We display x, and at this point, x is equal to 1, so 1 is the first number that gets displayed. So now, by switching the order of the statements, instead of 0 getting displayed first, 1 gets displayed first. We return to the top of the repeat block. We evaluate the condition. 1 is not greater than 2, so we go back inside the repeat block. We increase x by 1 once again. Then we display the value of x. Now x is equal to 2, so 2 gets displayed. We go back to the top. We evaluate the condition. X currently equals 2, and 2 is not greater than 2, so the condition is once again false. We go back inside the repeat block. We increase x by 1 once again. Now x is equal to 3, and 3 is greater than 2. However, don't make the common mistake of reevaluating the condition without first executing every statement in the repeat block. We cannot evaluate it yet. So although x is equal to 3, we still need to move on to the next statement, which states display x, which leads to 3 getting displayed. Now that we've executed every statement in the repeat block, now we go back to the top and reevaluate the condition. X is equal to 3, 3 is greater than 2, so now the condition is now true. Thus we're finished. We can move on to the next statement, which is display done. Done gets displayed to the screen.